Ask any individual if they want a lifestyle in which they would get to travel while continuing their job, or the kind of job without a 9-to-5 restriction, and 75% of them would say yes. While working remotely and traveling the world may be a pipe dream for most, it is a reality for those who can work from their computer and are up for the adventure. In fact, working remotely from a Balian beach or an Icelandic volcano used to sound like something reserved for jet-setting CEOs. But now, a growing number of average people are enjoying that lifestyle. And all of this is possible because of the Digital Nomad Visa. Digital Nomad visas have been springing up in one form or another across the world. Many countries around the world, from Estonia to Romania to Greece to Costa Rica, all the way to Indonesia and even Caribbean islands like Antigua and Barbuda, to major centers like Dubai, and the list goes on. All of them are developing efforts to entice digital nomads or remote workers to come and work in their country. So, this is a worldwide growing trend, and for a good reason, as it can boost the economy. And you must be thinking how digital nomad visas are beneficial to the global economy. Let me explain how. But first, let me define the terms digital nomad and digital nomad visa.
The idea of remote work was just a fantasy to daydream about while sitting in a cubicle. But the pandemic lockdowns changed all of that. The office can now be literally anywhere in the world. We begin our Shifting Workplace series with these so-called digital nomads. They work online from wherever they choose and rarely stay in one fixed location.
A new reality of technology-based work, autonomy, and independence has arrived, introducing a new type of employee, the digital nomad, who is changing how we think about jobs and income. By definition, they are the individuals who relocate to another country because their employment, being technology-mediated, which permits them to do so. And a digital nomad visa is a document or program that allows someone to work remotely while living in a nation other than their permanent residency, while also assuring that visa holders can sustain themselves without accepting local jobs. And as a matter of fact, these terms are not new. More so, digital nomads existed long before digital nomad visas existed. Most of them used tourist visas or other forms of staying in the country for a short period of time. But they were technically considered tourists. They paid no public taxes in the country in which they resided. And the reason of an abrupt surge in the number of remote workers or digital nomads in particular is the COVID-19 pandemic. As pandemic made remote work a requirement for social separation, and it proved to be a very popular lifestyle, with approximately 32% of employees stating in a research said that they never want to return to the workplace. Now, if you look at some digital nomad statistics, 15.5 million U.S. workers consider themselves as digital nomads. Millennials account for approximately 44% of these, with baby boomers accounting for only 12%. And according to the same report, 54% of digital nomads intend to continue their lifestyle for the next 2 to 3 years. And it is also important to consider that the growing number of digital nomads is transforming the social, business, and economic landscape in a variety of ways. They are developing new habits and routines to replace old ones, such as the 9-to-5 or the weekly Tuesday afternoon meeting. More and more companies are allowing their employees to work from anywhere, whether at home, in another state, or even halfway around the world. So, with more and more individuals working online throughout the world, there are over 45 nations that welcome digital nomads with long-term visas. Now, let's take a look at some of the countries offering digital nomad visas, including what these regions have to offer those who want to live their best nomadic life. In 2020, Estonia was the first country to provide a digital nomad visa. Since then, Estonia has worked hard to make the country appealing to digital nomads. Remote workers benefit from extensive free public Wi-Fi coverage, as well as cafes and co-working spaces that welcome them. Mexico is another rising location that has become an appealing option for digital nomads during the pandemic. Several remote employees, primarily from the United States and Canada, relocated to the country in 2020. With the Barbados Welcome Stamp, Barbados entices digital nomads and remote workers wanting to escape their busy city life. This special 12-month visa permits you to relocate and work in one of the world's most popular tourist destinations. If the idea of working remotely from one of the world's wealthiest cities appeals to you, you should apply for the Dubai Digital Nomad Visa. It will act as a temporary residence permit for digital nomads, allowing them to remain in the UAE for at least a year. with the opportunity to renew if you wish to stay in the city for an extended period. So, you can reside near some of the world's most well-known and desirable restaurants, retail establishments, beaches, and hotels. Discover an entirely different way of life while making one-of-a-kind business connections and memories. Another exciting country is Indonesia. It has passed legislation to provide the longest-lasting digital nomad visa. With the new visa, you can stay there and work for 5 years without asking them to pay tax on the work that they do. Now, who doesn't want to live as a digital nomad in Bali? And that too without a tax. And lastly, the favorite destination of all remote workers, Costa Rica. Aside from the apparent advantages of year-round good weather, a beach lifestyle, and a low cost of living, Costa Rica also provides tax-free living to remote workers who want to call it home. So, digital nomads can now choose from a variety of tropical destinations like Costa Rica and Mexico to island getaways like Maldives and Barbados, and even the winter retreats like Estonia and Norway. But why are these countries welcoming digital nomads? What's in it for them? Well, the answer is simple. Digital nomads benefit the economy. Let's see how. Countries can not only levy reasonable taxes on digital nomads' international earnings, but they can also offer longer stays and stronger legal status. Furthermore, since the outbreak of the pandemic, many communities that rely on international travel and tourism have experienced a severe economic downturn. The tourism industry and all jobs associated with it were among those hardest hit by the pandemic. So, it's a solution that works. Digital nomads can revive tourism. It is estimated that each digital nomad contributes 10 times more to the local economy than a typical tourist. This means increased opportunities for locals in hotels, restaurants, adventure, rentals, and a variety of other industries. And during the COVID-19 pandemic, many nations began giving specific visas to these digital nomads, particularly those with strong tourism sectors that were suffering from reduced worldwide travel. The next point is digital nomads spend locally. Whether they're lounging or working on their laptops, digital nomads have an impact on an area's economy and demographics. According to studies, digital nomads spend more than 35% of their earnings locally in their destinations. Moreover, they invest in real estate and generate income in their host country. This spending also brings foreign currency to their destination, thus bolstering the economy. In fact, according to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, if Greece can attract 100,000 digital nomads in a year and keep them for 6 months, the economic impact might be worth 1.6 billion euros per year. Another factor is digital revolution and innovation. Digital nomads are officially driving global change, traversing boundaries and requiring legal and regulatory changes. They create inventive centers in the host country and bring varied commercial and entrepreneurial concepts to the community. And where ideas are formed, investments flow in, the economy thrives. Moreover, countries that want to attract digital nomads must provide more than just natural beauty and tourism opportunities. They must also provide services that allow digital nomads to accomplish their work. These services might range from robust internet connectivity to co-working spaces, water, power, banking services, shops, and so on. And all these services serve the local community as well as the towns and their people's long-term growth. So it's pretty obvious that digital nomads and remote workers in general can be a boon to any economy, spending money, encouraging collaboration, and spurring innovation. On the other hand, digital nomads or remote employees in general are better served by digital nomad visas. And the variety of possibilities includes specialty permits that allow them to stay longer than a tourist visa would. In fact, these visas provide a temporary solution to global immigration policy issues and visa delays as well. So, that is a win-win situation for both the digital nomads and the economies in which they can choose to live and work. However, there are some issues that even digital nomad visas can't solve. One resolved issue is the impact of digital nomads on housing. As a result of digital nomads, the general price of rent has increased in many urban regions. This is because wealthy workers frequently relocated to cheaper countries where some landlords rapidly realized they could demand much higher fees, driving up competition. Together with property becoming a large space for investors, rents have gone up, and there is no sign of them stopping. This poses a challenge that many countries will need to solve in the near future. Additionally, as the number of digital nomads increases, so will the percentage of value-added occupations in their nation of residence, with greater wages than local employees. And this will simply worsen income inequalities. So, digital nomads are a reality. It is more than a trend, and it is here to stay. But it is also possible that there may be a backlash against digital nomads in a scenario where they raise real estate prices and exacerbate economic disparities. If you found this video informative and enjoyed the content, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button as well. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask us. We will be happy to answer them for you. Thank you for watching.